I'm muted. I did it again. G'day, g'day, everybody. G'day. Hey, the number one rookie mistake, and we all make it. Okay, we got an echo. Oh, so g'day, everyone. Thanks for coming again. We got some really cool, interesting books today. We got a couple of books to look at with some weird, wonderful, interesting stuff in it. And well, there's that much material today. We're going to have a little break in between so everyone can run and get a drink and all that, and then get comfortable for the second half. So I'll quickly tell you what you're in for this week, and then we'll have a little bit of a yarn to Jules, and we'll get into it. So first off, this week we have a book from Dr. Spencer Edward Black. It's called The Resurrectionist, and it's actually his documentation on stuff that he's found. And he even says in the book that he did the book because he knew that what he found would be covered up or hidden away from the world. So that's a really interesting book we're going to have a look at. And again, believe it or not, is up to you. After that, we have the Ripley Scrolls. There's 3 scrolls, very large scrolls, and they just got pictures on them. We're just going to look at the pictures and have a bit of a yarn about them. There's couldn't find a lot of reading matter to go with that, and I don't want to bore you by reading too much. So, and after that, we got it is called the KGB Book of Aliens, but just the Book of Aliens will do, and we'll look at that. Some of the photos actually look real, some look bodgy. We'll go through that and see what we think, and yeah, it should be a good show. So before we get into that, I want to say good day to Jules because it was Jules's hatching day. Happy birthday, Jules.
Thank you.
How you been? How was your
I hatched.
You hatched. Have you got wings?
Still hatching. Still hatching.
Still hatching. Cool. I'm glad you had a really good time too.
It's a week-long hatchling.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even 2 weeks.
Take your time.
Yeah, it's been absolutely perfect. I cannot complain.
Yeah, that's good. And I've had a wonderful week too, and I hope everyone out there has had a wonderful week. And if you haven't, that means next week's going to be better because what goes up must come down and vice versa. So it'll be all good. Yeah, had beautiful weather here. I'm enjoying this summer, I've got to tell you. Jules got snow for her birthday. She's got a birthday wish. Weird thing, we actually got snow here in Australia in our snowy mountains, and it's the middle of summer, but I figured that was got to do with Jules's wish.
Maybe.
Who knows? But isn't it wonderful, all this weird and wonderful stuff? Yeah. All right. So what else is happening? We might get some guests drop in and join us around the campfire later on during the show, like we normally do. And
Cool.
yeah, so as usual, let's get straight into it. Why wait? Because I've been waiting. When I discovered this stuff, I got really, really excited, and I had to bring it to you. So, yeah. So, okay, let's get into this. I'll do the computer sharing thing. Hang on. Doo-doo. My skills are getting better. Very slowly. Okay, here we go. And so there's a little bit of reading matter here, and false. Oh, no, here. Here we go. Everyone can see that good, I hope. All right. So this is the Spencer Edward Black book of the Resurrectionist. It's really ominous. When I saw the front thing, I went, oh, it looked really dark and all that. But when I actually started reading, I'm thinking, oh, hang on, this is really interesting. It was just the picture that we had. So, all right. Pardon me. So before everything that he shows you that he's discovered and that, he has a little talk and tells you a bit about it. So the first thing that he's put in his book is the Sphinx. So I'll do a bit of reading, then we'll check out the pictures, and then we'll move to the next thing, because like I said, we've got a lot to do this week. So Dr. Black chooses the Sphinx for the first chapter, possibly as a reference to her famed riddle. Failure to answer the riddle correctly resulted in instant death. There is, however, nothing enigmatic about Black's intentions. Knowing that the most of his specimens would likely be destroyed or hidden away in private collections, he created the Codex as a legacy of his research, and perhaps as a map for the future scientists to follow. In addition to a brief introduction, each chapter features a stylized drawing, a vision of what Black thought the creature may have looked like. So, and he has specimens. He talks about the specimens. So here we go. That's what he reckons the Sphinx looks like. But the actual one hasn't got wings, the statue, unless they took them off. All right. So let's have a read of this. Many details regarding the heraldry of the Sphinx are still unknown. These creatures varied widely throughout the African continent. In Egypt, there are great statues of this animal. The Sphinx, Sol, the protector and scourge of Ra, the sun god. Sphinxes are shown bearing a ram's head or a goat's head. These species are typically depicted without wings. I suspect, like many flightless birds, the Sphinx lost its need to fly because of geographical isolation. This evolution likely occurred before the animal's arrival in Egypt or Africa. However, I cannot determine whence it originated. Excuse me, I'm getting a bit tongue-tied. The famed Sphinx of Thebes appears strikingly similar to the specimen in my record. Though few in number, the species had developed human mind with an advanced intellect. They were more than likely fierce and successful predators. And keep in mind, if you've watched any of the earlier shows, we've showed you those weird and wonderful creatures that they wrote down in the early centuries. And here's this guy finding specimens of species and writing down everything about it. And it was like the remnants of those time that he actually got to grab. So we'll just go through these plates. She's got a female face. He said they usually have an animal face, but that's okay. Makes it a bit creepy. So I figure from the fragments that he had and the tests he done, he built these plates on coming off those evidences that he had. Imagine his life. Imagine, I wonder tomorrow who's going to bring what, because some of these things he finds are really fascinating. And it's nothing we really haven't heard or seen before, but it's the fact that he got specimens and documented. So, okay. He's gone in quite detail, as you can see, like a proper doctor. All right. The belief in the siren or mermaid was not uncommon in the 19th century. Many naturalists and taxonomists maintain that such a creature was plausible. Dr. Black himself states that the oceans were far too vast to reach a decisive conclusion. It is worth noting that for all the scientists opposed to Black's research, there were many who supported him and even made similar claims of their own. Wow. They don't tell you this. So depending on what kind of stuff you get into, at the moment, a lot of these things are resurfacing. And sorry, Polly, we got a guest. There was a guest knocking at the door and I wasn't paying attention. Hang on, I'll just open the door. G'day, Polly. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, I'll put our faces up. You can still see the screen good. All right. Well, I'm glad you come, and I'm glad that you've popped in to see what we're doing. I'll keep going, and we'll have a bit of yarn at the end. Okay. So here's the first. Well, mermaids and siren, yeah, they're a little different, but they're the same one. All right. So the siren, Mary.
Technically, there is a difference between the mermaid and the siren.
Yeah, I thought so. I've got a lot of background noise today. Everyone's having fun and being busy. And actually, here's right off topic, talking about technical. There's a difference between a graveyard and a cemetery and a coffin and a, what's the other word for a coffin?
Box?
No.
Crypt?
The other,
Chamber?
a casket. There's differences between them. I didn't know that, but just a bit of stupid, a bit of silly information there. All right, where were we? The siren. So folklore of these creatures predates the convention of scientific method. Nonetheless, the legends donate an accurate account of some of the evolutionary aspects regarding their species. I will begin with the homogeneous nature of them as a species, differing only as dogs may differ in breed, albeit significant differences indeed. The siren was described as a bird in ancient times. Only later did it become a woman of the water. There was at some point in the past a need to make specific distinctions between the water human and the bird human animals. Whether it was an error in classification or that the siren evolved into an aquatic mammal is not well understood. I love the way he says bird human because I like bird people. And in our culture, there was a time where we had dingo people and snake people. And I like this kind of talk because it reminds me of it. Anyway, Nereids or Naiades share many of the traits of the deeper ocean-born species, but they are far more human than the mermaid, and in many cases they are nearly entirely human, save the distinct psychological aquatic attributes. This would explain their geographic preference for shallow fresh water. The mermaid, the female of the species, Siren oceanus, they even got a proper name for it, was less common and certainly more exclusive than the siren. It breathed underwater without any need to surface. I speculate the possibility of several variants of the species that exhibit more mammalian traits and therefore required the occasional breath. as do the dolphin and whale. The task of discovering any such animals intact by means of good fortune alone are nearly impossible. Yeah, so like I said, most of what he got were fragments, bits and pieces, probably because someone found the animal or the animal person got afraid, destroyed it, and what was left they sent to the scientists. And we got a bit more reading here. This animal would need to have a fully evolved and substantially unique respiratory system, similar to the gills of a fish, but conforming to the structure of the human rib cage. If Many theory is correct, and there was once indeed an air-breathing mermaid, this would suggest the existence of a vast variety of species, still occupying many shapes, sizes, and functions in the depths of our waters. The pelvis and femur would be robust and generous in length, considering the large size of the lumbar vertebrae and the thickness of the caudal and anal spines. This particular species of mermaid would have exhibited a greater agility and speed than nearly any other sea animal hitherto documented. The superficial tendons weave over the muscular tissue, allowing for greater tension, strength, and resistance. The presence of massive muscular tissue supporting all the fin spine region would grant this animal superiority and champion in the water. Okay. Take note of what he's saying about these animals, because when we go to the alien book at the end of the show, I got a feeling we're going to see a couple of similarity things that are kind of similar. Oh, check it out.
I just want to say one thing here. They're all drawings so far, and I have anatomy books that you could easily just draw those things if you just look at different parts of different anatomy books, right? So, are there any real bones or like any samples or anything? Because they are really bringing back extinct animals to life. Like there's the whole mammoth thing that's going on. They're gonna actually an elephant, an Indian elephant, is gonna give birth to a mammoth in 2024 because it takes 22 months to gestate. So they've already impregnated an elephant with a mammoth, and they did this by extracting incomplete DNA, just like Jurassic Park, basically. And they use the Indian elephant's DNA to put in the blank pieces.
So the way I see it, Polly, is this is a remnant of them doing this before, and we're doing it again now.
Yeah, because history just keeps repeating itself for some reason.
So the last time it happened, and the stories are all over the world where they defiled everything and did experiments they shouldn't have been doing and stuff like that. And then we got all these beings, and then all them beings disappeared because mostly we killed them. I reckon we killed a lot of them, and some of them went somewhere else, I reckon. But and some of them, I truly believe there's a small percentage of them left. But because of that,
I would rather believe that they left than that we killed them. This just seems more optimistic outcome.
I know, Polly, but you know, humans and their fear factor of what is that? It's strange, it's evil, let's kill it.
True.
But never mind. Yeah, so I do, when I look at these and think, oh, we're experimenting again, and what are we going to create this time, Polly? Like, are we going to have?
Polly, I'm totally in following you. You know, it reminds me of those old Ripley's Believe It or Not museums, the Fiji mermaid. I mean, it was literally a fish, and somebody was clever enough to found the right primate and put it underneath it and claim they found the skull of the Fiji mermaid, and it was a complete proven hoax.
But there's also a recent, I guess, development that I've heard about regarding bringing back extinct animals, whether they be cryptids like mermaids or actual real animals like mammoths. and that there's an actual benefit to the ecosystem where you introduce these, like reintroduce these animals. They're hypothesizing that it may offset carbon, that it would bring more of an equilibrium back to areas where they were extinct from. For example, Siberia, like all those like tundra areas where these mammoths have been like basically flash frozen. And so that's why we're able to get the DNA from them.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Polly, because here in Australia, when they had the sugarcane, there's a beetle that was on the sugarcane. So they had this bright idea to bring in this toad that eats the beetles. And they thought that, yeah, that's going to solve the problem. But when they actually got the toad here, the simplest thing they forgot was that the beetles were at the top of the plant and the toads were at the bottom of the plant. And the toads multiplied. They're actually a pest now, and they're poisonous.
Yeah, and people kept licking the toads.
Yeah. Hey, look at this one. There's a fish that looks like that nation, eh? I forget what it's called, and it's poisonous as well.
See, to me, that looks just like an artist's rendition of something creative. Like that, I mean, that doesn't look anything like something that you would find anatomically. Granted, you're not going to find many skeletons in the ocean, because I think the ocean
eats them up.
Like, well, you have to go to the bottom first to find them, and that's really difficult. But I mean, like detail like that in those drawings, you wouldn't see that in. So that's clearly an artist's rendition or imagination. I've seen they've given hippopotamus skulls to artists that have like no idea about animals, and they've drawn what they think that skull would look like, and it doesn't really look anything like a hippopotamus.
It depends on the drawing style, where that goes for anything. Old drawings, and if you look for different people, some of them, their drawing style was a certain way and they drew things that way. But you got to remember too, back in the day, all the doctors and scientists all had journals and all actually logged things like this. It was exactly like that.
And you got to think of all the documents that have been lost that had stuff that's even probably more fantastical than this.
Well, that's why he said at the beginning, I'm doing this because I know that it's going to be hidden and taken away from all of us, because he was onto it and his colleagues were too. But regardless, the future will tell, because like I said, this is going to be recycled.
Well, one of the questions that I have too is, because have you ever seen the movie Waterworld, where like Kevin Costner can basically breathe on land, but he can also breathe underwater because he has gills? If we found a person like that character, would we even be able to detect evidence that they were able to breathe underwater? Because as far as I know, gills, they don't really get preserved that well when you're talking about fossils and stuff.
You've got me thinking with that, Polly. Back in the early 90s, there was this fantastic movie called The Abyss.
I love that movie.
Well, he drank whatever he in his mask. I mean,
the ambient fluid.
Yeah, that fluid, and he was able to breathe underwater.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I always thought, before we're born in fluid in our mum's womb. And
that's exactly what they said in the movie too, Luna. They said they just basically took the idea from like when you're in the womb, your lungs are full of water.
Yeah, and actually, there's for another yarn, because I've looked into that. Because I've had days where I feel like I've been walking through water on land. I think I love it.
I've had dreams where I felt like I could breathe underwater, but it wasn't like I had gills. I could feel the water moving in and out of my lungs.
Just like when you're in the womb.
I guess so, yeah. If I was ever even in one.
Yeah. Well, you're not a cabbage patch, baby.
I don't know. Whenever somebody asks me what I am, you're not one of those, are you? I always say I don't know, just in case I'm wrong.
You tell me. All right. Let's get back to this, because we've got a lot to go through. Dr. Black's notes reference different kinds of satires. And hey guys, if I get the word wrong and you know what it is, just tell me what it is. And mention one that he claims to have found in Finland. However, there are no known remnants of any specimen that Black may have studied. He refers to the satyr in a
the
satyr in a journal entry dated September 1906. There are physiological aspects of this being that I, with my limited knowledge, could not quantify, only speculate. I suspect it held a heavenly song in its throat, a dancer's weight in its gait, and a child's mischief. I like the way he's really honest when he says, I don't really know much about it, and then he will tell you what he does know about it. That's what leans me towards that it's more probably real because of the honesty he has about his research.
I want to know the difference between a child's mischief and an adult's mischief. Is it that different?
It depends on the mind. If you've got an adult that is young and still has a child's mind, it'll be very much the same.
Right.
All right, there he is. Here, gee, the names, man, they give them proper names. Why would you give something that's not really a proper name? Satyrs. There are, Jules. Can you say that?
Satyrus Hercinus.
There.
It's Latin.
There you go.
Jules, are you Italian?
It could be.
Hey, I don't know.
All right. Is that big enough on the screen there? Because I can make it bigger.
I wouldn't be surprised if some eventually showed up in the family lineage, but for the most part, I don't know.
All right. Showing many similarities to a minotaur as a common goat does to a bull. Do they? I never thought of that. A satyr. Most important dysfunctions from the minotaur are its head and superior intelligence. I am well acquainted with the many interpretations of this creature. It has been portrayed in countless works of literature and stories for the stage. The species I studied, represented here, had the ears of a human, though goat-eared species are believed to exist. There may be other varieties as well. I discovered a specimen resembling a ram near the border of Finland. There was too little remaining of the beast, and regrettably it was not in a condition that permitted useful study or accurate representation. I have not yet come upon another like it. See, that's what I found exciting. So, look at that. That was, I suppose, like any scientist of that, like, you know, when you find a bit of a dinosaur and they do the rest, going from all their education. Because, man, if dinosaurs were real, so were these things. That's what I reckon. What would you see that
do you all remember the infamous story that we used to hear about the goat at the dance in the mountains of in the Highlands of Scotland?
Captain, yeah.
I'm just kind of wondering. Got me thinking about that.
Oh, because I was going to say, what does that first remind you of, that creature, right? If you're religious, you'll think one thing, right? That's what it reminds you of. But scientifically, it's just a being from a species. So, yeah, good point there. He came in, he danced with everyone. No one realised till the end of the night.
One thing I'm interested in here with these drawings, because they remind me of like anatomy sketchbooks.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned about at least human anatomy, or most of anatomy on planet Earth, is that they follow certain rules. And one of them, the main one, is the golden rule or the golden ratio. So it'd be interesting to see. I don't know how to measure that or anything, but it would be cool to, like, if there was some kind of template, we could lay over some of these drawings to see if the golden ratio actually applies here, because that would be like a little bit more compelling to me, at least for believability that they actually did exist. Because everything else is around this principle, right? So why can't these?
Yeah, but then I look at the T-Rex, and if you apply it to that, that's impossible to fall on its face, and because it had such little hands, and how, like, there's things about it that would be impossible to do when I look at it that way. Because some people talk about the giants and go, no way they would be able to exist. They would have had to have feet like elephants and not feet like ours, right? But given that the air was different back then and a lot of things were different, it's quite possible, you know, that the T-Rex could have existed and had tiny little arms and a great big body. You know what I'm saying?
Why would
Oh, you're
what would you
pinging me,
use?
bro. Pardon? You pinged, Polly. We couldn't hear you.
I mean, what those little arms for the. Sorry, am I back?
Yeah.
He wouldn't even be able to scratch. Wouldn't think about it though, wouldn't you? We just want to go, what have I got these things for? They're useless. I can't feed myself. I can't scratch. All right, you're right there, Polly.
You can't even feed yourself with them.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. We will have to do a show on Golden Rancho and check out animals and see whether it applies to everything. All right, back to this. So, Black's Minotaur appears to be a tragic beast indeed. It is bestowed with the worst traits of two creatures, and none of their gifts. What good is the human body without the human intellect to command it? What good is the mind of a bull without that creature's powerful weight and charging force? There are additional shortcomings as well. The Minotaur has no claws for attacking or defense. It cannot fly or swim. The existence of this beast seems difficult to conceive. I love his honesty. So, yeah, these are things that we've got to look at. That's why I like you here, Polly, because we can look at both sides of the page. Is it plausible? Is it not plausible? Look, he looks sad. Anyway. Oh, this is the Minotaur restaurant. Okay. Wow.
Well, if we're able to put a human ear on the back of a rat, then if that's all we're able to do, what if an advanced civilization thousands of years ago was like already, neck deep in genetic manipulation? Like, hey, let's throw a trunk of an animal from somewhere on a different planet onto a giraffe from Earth or whatever, and let's just see what happens. We need new antibodies or something. I don't know why they would want to do that, but
why do they want to do it today? It's the same mentality. Why would you want to interfere with nature like that? And then you got to think of the poor being that you just created and what they got to put up with.
Well, okay, is it actually interfering with nature? Or is that why we're a part of nature, is to do that? Sure. I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
Because I think we could probably do some pretty cool things with nature if we learned how to use it. But we could also do some pretty destructive things with it too, like weather manipulation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, all right, back to this. Because where are we? Yeah, okay. Reading's really... it's not one of my things. Anyway, back to here. This specimen demonstrates the unique musculature necessary to support the Minotaur's head in all of its possible functions, including combat. I have gathered incomplete segments of what appears to be creatures of the same species. Thus far, I cannot conclude the existence of any variant to the species analysed herein. The Minotaur must have been unique despite conflicting accounts of its historical pedigree. It is important to consider the very real question of its ancestors, some of which may have possessed 6 limbs, 4 legs, and 2 arms, as does the Centaur. However, I have not yet come to know such a thing to be true. Like many of the animals I have excavated or acquired from private collections, this specimen's preservation and condition have not allowed me to support a complete survey of the body. The soft tissues were so badly decomposed that I could ascertain nothing from its remains. I would summarize that the ancient Minotaur did not have a 4-chambered stomach like its bovine cousin. I would consider it impractical to be a ruminant, having an upright disposition and 2 arms for the gathering of the preparation of food. The minotaur was likely an omnivore, given its size. Its disposition for predation may have been engendered by a scarcity of food. It is likely that it did not evolve balanced enough to adequately compete for food or defend itself. Having only a simple brain and being bipedal, it would have not been able to run from an animal attack or devise a strategy or weapon to protect itself, as a beast with a greater propensity for intellect might have done. Poor thing, that's sad.
I would argue that something like the Minotaur didn't evolve at all.
Someone made it.
Because that would be like millions of years of evolution, and you would have steps in between from, like, you know, the bull or horse somehow crossing with the man, and all of a sudden a man is born with 4 feet, 2 arms, and like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like evolution to me.
Yeah, he might have been you know what it reminds me of when I was reading that? You know how they reckon they made cats to be guardians? I think they made this guy to be a guardian, like they made him specifically for a job. You know what I mean? He was made.
Like a soldier almost, or like a centaur.
Yeah,
like
something like that. Yeah, like had a job.
Chimera.
Like the 3-headed dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon back then with their technology and they doing what we do now, slice and spice and see what happens.
Now we just have guard dogs.
Yeah, I know.
And guard robots.
Oh, don't go there. You think this is scary? Robots are scary.
Incoming subspace signal.
It's always appropriate. All right, what do we got next? Some of them he does a lot of more drawings on than the others. Have you noticed? All right.
And I wonder how much assumption is done when you look at a dead animal's bones. Like, what kind of accuracy are you going to get from assuming how the muscle structure is just based on looking at the bones? I would be really interested to know how accurate that is, because seeing the artist's rendition of the hippopotamus skull, when they drew it on, it didn't look anything like a hippopotamus to me.
What it really did do.
It didn't look anything like it at all. So, like, how accurate is this? Is this just like sort of imagining what it would look like, how the muscles would work based on what we know how ours do?
I think that's
it looked like a very good cut of steak.
and I'm just
Right?
looking at his head thinking, you know, them heads that you find in the desert. How do we know what's from one of them? No.
Yeah. And this specimen is called the prime rib. It's been aged for approximately 3 million years.
Oh, dear.
It's $400,000 a gram.
There's no fat in it.
Yeah, it's totally lean. Yeah,
Is that yen or
Superfood.
USD?
It's super paleo food.
Okay. What do we got here? There are many interesting legends surrounding the origins. Oh, this is a good one. Of Ganesha. In one story, the goddess Parvati created a boy from dust to guard her while she was bathing. Her husband Shiva came along and found a stranger waiting outside his wife's quarters. He attacked the boy, decapitating him. Sorry. Oh, that's horrible.
Same thing.
Yeah. Upon learning the child was, in fact, Parvati's son, Shiva restored the boy using the head of an elephant and made him a leader.
So, back in the day, you could just take the head off of anything and put it on top of anything else, and it would work. That must be so cool. Hey, how was your day? Oh, man, I lost me head, but good thing there was a spare elephant lying around, because now I've got an elephant head.
Oh, dear. Okay.
Don't lose your head. We don't have any more.
The Ganesha was a drastic evolutionary juxtaposition. I'm enjoying it now. Of the natural physical form, man and elephant. Though Ganesha's origin is mere legend, it did not arise from the dust. Truth is always hidden in the past. I wonder what he found. Oh, well, you're not telling us what he found. He's just giving us pictures. Hang on, that head looks like it should be a bit bigger.
I'm trying to imagine what I would do with myself if I had a trunk like that.
Well, showering would be fun. Okay. Jules, can you read this one for me? Because my mouth's hurting from laughing.
Yeah. If you'll scroll up for me in a couple of seconds, because, well, yeah, my camera's been kind of glitchy, so I'm going to go off cam, but I shall read.
It's because you're in Vegas, Jules, aren't you?
Is that helping if I do that?
No, it's supposed to be Atlantis, but oh well. Anyhow, let me come over here.
Yeah. All right.
The study of the Ganesha answered one of my most persistent questions regarding the bone matter in a host of creatures. How can such small and slight bone support such massive appendages and disproportionately sized heads? It seems the Ganesha had a swinery fiber woven throughout its bone structure, independent of the ligament and tendon systems. This sinew acted as resistance barrier for undue or excessive strain, such as a splint protects a broken limb. The sinew functioned not unlike the external skeletal structure for the bone. This material helps explain how many animals could withstand excess strain and torsion. Unfortunately, I do not know of any living creature that evolved with this material.
Can I just interrupt briefly?
Yeah.
The word is sinew, and the Inuit use sinew from seals for a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay.
So how does I do not know of any living creature that evolved with this material come from, when there's plenty of animals with sinew in them that have been used for thousands of years. Just playing devil's advocate.
No, I mean, I gotcha. My specimen is one of the great treasures of the East, though only a portion of the creature was recovered. It was well preserved and wrapped in 100 yards of decayed cloth. Further discoveries are a possibility. I happened upon chance to come from the tomb of one, and surely there are many more. The Ganesha skull would not have housed what would be classified as either human or elephant brain. However, the shape and position of the brain, especially the cerebral cortex, is cause for more extensive study and additional research. I can conclude that the animal is more than likely of high intellect, confounding one who considers why it failed to prosper as a species.
Interesting choice of words that the author chose to put there. If you can conclude something, it is not more than likely.
Yeah, I like the way he writes. It's kind of on. All right, so we're on pictures now. Are you reading it on your computer, Jules?
Yeah, I've passed the images because I figured you would be with the images.
Yeah,
I wonder how did they
another
sleep?
trip around the sun, and my eyes are a little older, so I had to blow up my window so I could see.
Okay. Yeah, I just grabbed a drink of water.
How do you sleep if you have 4 arms? Where do you put them when you're lying down?
You could use 2 as a pillow.
Oh, hey, that would be good. You could put 2 arms behind your head and the other 2. Yeah. Oh, we could get into some
I'll
interesting
tell you
sleep.
what, as a mum, it'd be really useful to have that 4 arms.
Yeah, it would.
Hey, be forearmed and forewarned. Okay. The Elephant Man reminded the story.
Don't make me put down the other kids.
He knows his human anatomy. I can tell you can say that, eh? All right. Oh, it looks funny without the
Yeah,
front.
there was just some,
Those tusks look kind of small. I mean, I guess they're good proportionally to like a human body, but
I wonder if they hunted them for their tusks like they do elephants.
it seems kind of a useless trait for a bipedal, 4-armed, walking, muscular specimen to have tusks like that. They just get in the way.
Remember what I said at the beginning of the show? Take note of all these weird creatures, because when we go to the Book of Aliens, we might find similar things.
That's probably where they got the ideas from.
Yeah, I really don't like the word alien. Others, visitors, others, you know. Oh, look at that.
Visitors implying that they're going, but I mean, some of them aren't visitors.
Yeah, I know. Others, that's what others are. I wonder how his dental program went. This fella.
They got a good PPO.
Probably didn't qualify for insurance.
Or a good flexible spending account.
All right. What do we got here? Do you want me to take over, Jules? Thanks for that. I just need the rest. Collie makes me laugh and me joy.
Yeah, I'll catch it.
Sorry.
Today, there are no species with multiple heads, although 2 or 3 headed mutations of existing creatures are not common. This condition is known as polycephaly. Often, the mutations are born with their heads fused together. Sadly, these mutations rarely live for very long. In the next 2 chapters, Dr. Black explores a pair of 3-headed creatures, the chimera and the cherubs. The Cerebrus. He was adamant that these species were not random mutations, but rather fully formed animal.
I just want to put on record that I take slight offense to the term polycephaly.
Oh, check it out.
Oh, that would be a pain in the butt. Imagine having a head that was just constantly nipping at your ear, annoying like that. Oh.
Imagine going for a feed. You'd have to eat grass, get a cow, and a mouse all at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow. So,
yeah, that doesn't seem to make sense.
Oh, isn't a chimera a laboratory animal?
Chimeras?
Are you thinking of
I think their general is just any sort of unnatural animal, like 2 animals put together.
I wonder if there's a species out there that looks at humans and go, they're chimeras.
Humans included, because we're just animals at the end of the day.
And it makes me, like, when we look at nature and all the species, I often say there's more than one species of human. We just don't know it yet.
There has to be.
Is there a lot of reading here? Oh, no. This is what I like about this book. There's not too much reading on each animal.
Is it one of those coloring books?
Hey, that's a good idea. Chimera coloring book.
Right.
Hey. And then create your own character at the end.
Actually, your art, Luna, would be a great medium for coloring books.
Oh, thanks, Polly.
Like adult coloring books where you pay attention to detail. Imagine coloring in all those little dots.
Yeah.
It's therapeutic.
Yeah, it is. Okay, who's doing this, George? You or me?
You want me to get it? Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay.
All right. What challenge lies before whoever ponders this beast? Why would nature require it to be shaped in such fashion? Its form is confounding and distasteful. Nonetheless, all mysteries ought to be solved, their secrets should be revealed. Without having the great privilege and scientific benefit of studying the creature whilst it was alive and moving before me, I am able to understand how it managed the apparent dilemma of 3 brains, 3 wills, and only one body to command. This is a great point of intrigue to me and a burden on my ever increasingly curious studies. I find it baffling that the tail of the creature has a structure of that belonging to a serpent, and yet the chimera has none of the serpent's functionality. It could neither slither nor coil upon the ground. I suspect that the tail is merely a system used for balance. The musculature of the lion's head seems to outweigh, by measure of weight, proportion, and tension, the other 2 heads. I concluded that the central vertebral joint, the thoracic vertebrae, can resist enough torsion to accommodate the animal moderately but not effectively. The diet is another curiosity. All 3 heads, whose origins are from different creatures of differing diets, must surely share a common digestive tract and similar requirements for basic functionality. I imagine there must have been an ample opportunity to benefit from such an arrangement that the great goat could graze whilst the lion rested, perhaps. It is likely that the more modest, necessary, and adaptable animal evolved from the chimera. Though I have no evidence to that end, it is my belief that the chimera could not have survived a respectable length of time in its environment.
Yeah, that makes sense, because if you take 3 animals from potentially 3 completely different ecosystems and put them on the same body, one of them's not going to do very well. Like, think about it. There's no commonality between the ecosystem of a goat and the ecosystem of a lion. And well, maybe snakes, you could argue there are some similarities.
Yeah, but the snake only.
But those snakes that do have similarities, they've evolved that way. That's why they still live there.
They don't eat as. Oh, hang on. Well, the goat would graze all the time. The lion has a big feed every few days, and so does the snake. He'll have a feed and then digest it.
And lions eat goats.
Ah, yeah. And
so maybe evolution was like, really let's put 3 heads on an animal, see which one comes out on top, and that's the one we'll go with. And that's why the lion is the king of the jungle.
Let's put enemies together and see. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's not. Hey, I got told how the platypus came about the other day, talking about chimeras. A river rat fell in love with a duck, and obviously told traditionally you get all the names in the story because they were like, a river rat was a river person. Anyway, long story short, the river rat fell in love with a duck, stole a duck as his wife, and they had a baby, and the baby turned out to be the platypus.
Wait, wasn't there another genius who had a bird as a wife? Wasn't his name Tesla, and the bird was a pigeon?
Huh? Hey, and the other thing I'm thinking about, looking at it from this angle, after they've all had a feed, what kind of digestive system would you have to accommodate all the different kinds of food? Because they've all got different enzymes and that in their stomach to accommodate the kind of food they eat. Right?
Yeah, and also, why are they calling these diagrams plates? It's almost as it's kind of giving a little bit of a false impression if you didn't know anything about archaeology or anything, and you saw that word plate all in capital letters. It's like they dug that out of the ground and photographed it or traced it with a pencil or something. It's a plate. What does that mean?
They had that for dinner. That's what's on the menu.
Yeah, that's what we ate first. This is the appetizer. Why are they all capitals too? That's what I don't get.
Oh yeah, hey,
you got to some more stuffs for me to read. Okay.
Yep. Just before you do that, I want to say Good day to everybody in the chat room. Malia, Connie, Polly, you were in there, but you're here. Jocelyn, Jules saying
Kinger.
Yeah, don't forget Kings.
That's what I'm doing. Dear sweet King. How you going, brother? Good
Royalty is in the house.
Yeah, you got it. That's why I had to put him up there. And anyone that's watching that I know that I didn't know that you're watching, g'day. Thanks for coming. All right, let's get back into this. All right, so we just had Chimera for dinner. It wouldn't surprise me, isn't it?
winner, Chimera dinner.
There are rich people that eat strange animals and they pay a lot of money to eat rare animals and stuff. Isn't there? There's places like that. I've heard of that. They give money.
Like the Chimera,
See,
the
there are
creature
animals.
known as Cerberus
Animals that I
also
wouldn't
has
eat.
3 heads.
Sorry, Jules, keep going.
No,
I think a lot of people eat animals based on the way they look.
Yeah, there are animals you're not supposed to eat. You know, there's some, yeah, true that you're not supposed to eat the meat of certain animals, and there's in many cultures different things what you're supposed to. In our culture, it's very strict of what you eat and what you don't eat, and depending on your age and all that kind of stuff, and where you come from,
And depending on how hungry you are.
Yeah, well, that's a thing because
I don't think I would eat an elephant unless I was really, really starving.
Tell you the truth, having the bond I have with nature, I couldn't eat anything like that was alive. That it wasn't a vegetable.
That's unhealthy.
I know, but I suppose. But the stupid thing is that if I had to feed you, my friends that I care about, or my family, something would disappear, and I just think I got to look after them. But when it comes to me, it's like, oh no, I can do it. I don't know. When we don't really know till we're faced with it, eh? Let's just hope we don't, and we aren't left eating chimeras. All right, back to a thing. Sorry, Jules.
Maybe chimeras didn't have to eat it at all.
Well, there's that too. They reckon that's a question. Did they? How much did they eat, and did they even eat in the old days? All right, let's let Jules. We'll move on with this because otherwise we're not going to get through any of what we have. There's a lot here.
All right.
Sorry, Polly.
So, like the Chimera, the creature known as the Cerberus also had 3 heads. Only in this case, the heads all belong to the same species. Black experimented with dogs on several occasions. We know of the work done with Darwin's beagle, but we do not know the full extent of Black's experimentation with polycephalaceous creatures.
Polly. Sorry, Polly. He's mucking around for your kind again.
It's okay. I'm used to it now.
I originally believed
so many poly words
the
I take offense
hellhound
to.
was a singular creation, much like the Ganesha and the Chimera. However, I had the particular fortune to come into the possession of 8 beasts, all of which appeared to have perished together as a pack. Several of the beasts had 2 or 3 heads, and one of the dogs possessed 6. A specimen with 3 heads and a serpent's tail is this case for study here. There must be some element in the bone, blood, or brain of the Cerberus and the Chimera that allowed for growth of multiple heads. These creatures are not mere mutations born of unnatural conditions. Their design is far too deliberate and intentional. Despite their superficial similarities, I have no evidence that these 2 creatures are closely related. I am not related to a fish simply because we both have a single head. The Cerberus would have been warm-blooded with many traits likened to other mammals, a 4-chambered heart, normal-sized organs, mammary glands, etc. A natural conclusion to draw would be that the serpent auxiliary to the body of the Cerberus, as well as the Chimera, had adapted appropriately, losing the need for cold-blooded temperature regulatory systems. Similar adaptations were found in other reptiles, such as the Dermochelis coriacea,
Democheles
the leatherback.
coriacea.
there may be shared ancestry among these reptiles, suggesting that the bloodlines are vast and still flourishing in regions yet unknown.
Hey, I got to say that the dog looked better.
See,
than
I'm still stuck on how does a Cerberus chase its own tail if it has 3 heads? What if 2 heads go in different directions?
But that's a science lab, because in our culture, everything, a fish is a fish, and everything that looks like a fish comes from a fish. A dog, Miri, is a dog. Everything that looks like a dog comes from a dog. You can tell by the kangaroo and all the marsupials that look or big or small that have the same stuff. They're all the same kind of stuff. When you see something so different, it straight away comes to mind someone in a laboratory.
If you're a 3-headed dog, do you get to draw straws for who gets to lick your butt?
Polly.
No, man, I did it yesterday. It's your turn. Come on. There's 3 of us here. We should rotate.
I was thinking more if you threw a ball, what would happen? Then total chaos would break out.
What if you threw 3 balls?
Welcome, Algo, and I totally agree with you.
What was that? Oh, look at that. Now, I've got to say, if that was a natural being, how beautiful it'd be. And there are things about the unicorn and the Pegasus, right? You do hear remnant stories. Yeah.
One of my favorite movies has Pegasus in it.
Yeah.
Clash of the Titans from the 80s. Had Pegasus. I was like, a flying horse. I want
one. What was the robot owl's name?
It was named Bilbo.
That's right.
The name's interesting, fellas. Pegasus Gorgonus, like the Gorgons. All right. When you get tired of reading those, I'll take over.
All right, I got this one, and then I'm gonna step to the side for a minute and grab some water.
Yeah, and then I'll take over. Okay.
You got it. So, famed for its ascent to Mount Olympus, the Pegasus has inspired many tales of wonderment. The size and breadth of the animal's wings afforded a greater capacity for flight than might seem possible. Certainly, the riddle is simple. Once one peers beyond the veil of the flesh, the air sacs throughout the animal's body would have been more than twice, by measure of proportion, the size of any bird's, thus allowing tremendous breathing potential. This would be an evolutionary necessity. The muscles governing the wings were likely very large. If given the opportunity to view genuine Pegasus cells under a microscope, I believe we would unravel the secret of their extraordinary strength. The types of cells are not absent from human muscle tissue, and they are merely less active. If human cells could be trained to perform with the same functionality as those of the Pegasus, then all would marvel at the greatest achievement achievable by man. The skeletal structure of the animal will seem familiar to any anatomist familiar with the avis and equus form. Surprisingly, there is no structural deviance from horse or from wing structure by typical of a common bird. I speculate this would be quite different among species of this family.
Interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that. It'd have to have big lungs.
So basically what that article says is that in order for Pegasus to actually get flight, it would have to use those airbags or sacs or bladders, whatever you call it. Imagine the sound Pegasus made when it took off if it had to fart just to get off the ground, basically, all at once. All of its...
Yeah. If you've ever been around horses in general, you'll know...
Would that flag once be glitter like the unicorn?
Yeah, and they would smell like cotton candy. Good point though that he brings up.
You hope
Like,
so, eh?
if if you think about how heavy a horse is, it's gonna need wings way bigger than that just to fly.
Well, what I was thinking about, if you've ever hung around horses, from both ends, a lot of air comes out. Like when they snort through their nose and they breathe, you can feel when they breathe in, they expand heads and go, whoo, and you can feel the force of the air coming out of their nose, and the other end as well, if you've ever hung around horses. So I can imagine that would be more multiplied a bit for given to be able to lift, and the wings would have to be very strong and light at the same time. Maybe the bones were made
And that's why I only hang around one end of a horse.
Yeah, and you only get on the one side.
I'm always at the north end of the horse.
He doesn't mention, pity you don't go right into how, like, what he found, because the bone structure could have been a different kind of structure to a normal horse. It could have been lighter and stronger in a different way. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you would think that horse bones would have to be basically hollow like all birds are, right?
Yeah. It'd have some sort of little holes or something in it that was strong still but light. And then having
would
the extra
have
air.
to have smaller organs.
Yeah, the extra air. I wonder what they ate. What would they eat? You know, would it be like a regular horse?
They ate
or would
clouds.
They special plants. They ate clouds. Okay, he's done a lot on that. He liked this one. I like it too. All right, I'll take over here. The Eastern Dragon. All right, let's get through this. The Eastern Dragon is certainly one of Dr. Black's most plausible creations. He believed that the creature and many like it still exist. He described the dragon as a sort of large, amphibious, or anatomically similar to the other creatures in its class. He believed that the dragon was one of the world's greatest beasts, having no predators and no geographical boundaries. Interestingly, Dr. Black mentions the Western fire-breathing variety of dragon in his notes. This reflects his willingness to consider all possibilities of life, no matter how far-fetched they might seem. Ooh. That's the Asian dragon, isn't it? But remember, if you watched any previous shows, I've showed you all them weird and wonderful creatures. They were killing dragons. They were killing dragon-like creatures and eating them. The knights killed dragons. So there's more feasible, and we know that these beings, dinosaur means reptile dragon, you know. Maybe these were the dinosaurs and they didn't have little arms like what they're telling us. Okay. This specimen was discovered in an old monastery on the island of Nakanotorishima. I thought our words were hard to pronounce. East of Japan. I was the only one among the companions who believed in its authenticity. I purchased the remains, giving the impression it was nothing more than a large serpent. And indeed, it really isn't much more than that. It measures 40 feet in length, and though I had only partial skeleton remains, I reconstructed the image of this impressive and august animal. Its size, spine, protrusions, clearly advanced claws and defensive capabilities would have lent it great advantage in its surroundings. Other dragons, especially the Western variety, are possibly ancient ancestors, though I believe the relationship is likely to be distant. With its wings and phosphorus breath, the Western dragon seems more closely related to the Leviathan of the Hydra than the Eastern dragon shown here. That's Leviathan, that's a word we know. However, since I have not studied the Western species as of yet, I am unable to scientifically confirm this assertion. The legend of the Far East offer elaborate and thoughtful descriptions of the area's native dragons. suggesting that the author had an intimate knowledge of the species. Like many of the smaller varieties, the serpent lizard and amphibian, the dragon, must have had many shapes and personalities, finely adapted to its specific needs and environment. Certainly many of the species are extinct, but not all. I cannot believe this animal no longer exists. Surely it continues to thrive in the depths of waters of the darkest swamps. You know, some people have been reporting dragons in the east and that, in the sky. I don't think anything is fully out extinct. There's still one left. Okay, so he's talking about this. It's like a land dragon, this one, eh? You would see
I
that
don't
come-
think that
come out of
dragons
them.
are completely extinct.
Well, we have Komodo dragons.
Yeah, they're the big-
True. Well, there's so much ancient symbolism with the dragon and the whole like phoenix.
Yeah.
mean,
I always thought dragons had to fly.
I can see aspects of the dragon and the phoenix, as well as I can see a bird and the phoenix. So I kind of, in my mind, just one of those crazy thoughts. I wonder what really is the difference between the two. But that could be another topic for another time.
Yeah, I thought there'd be more on dragons, but I thought he'd have a couple of different ones. But anyway, and really dragons, like we got crocodiles and all that, and like the Komodo dragon and all that sort of stuff. So there are remnants.
There's a dragonfly.
A dragonfly, yeah. And I've read old stories of people going to certain places and finding frozen dragons in mountains and stuff like that. So I always reckon they're real because we've got the knights and the dragons, and there's so much history on it. Anyways, because of the centaur's exceptional weight, Black likely employed the same elaborate pulley system used during the creation of the Pegasus. It is believed that the most of his taxidermy creations are still in existence. He taxidermed? There was no mention of his taxidermy, but I didn't show you the beginning of the book. In the beginning of the book, there's all this writing, and given there was so much matter to get through, I didn't want to read all the beginning of the book. So I suggest, as always, go and check her stuff out yourself if you want to know more about it, and look at the bits that we don't present to you, and if you're really, really interested. So anyway, I'll get back to this. Where was I? Where was I? Taxidermy, that's right. I got blown out on that word. Creations are still in existence, but only hidden away in private collections. These are private collections. Black was considered an excellent taxidermist, and any collector would seek his work, likely at a considerable price. Black mentioned finding evidence in an insert Bulgarian village, I think the picture, but there are no accounts from other archaeologists to collaborate these reports. All right, let's see what he's doing. Oh, I see what he's talking about. Okay. So we found something, a Centurius caballus. That's Latin again, eh?
Wait.
Latin.
He has a taxidermy
Yeah,
model of one of those?
that's what he's saying. He did taxidermy, but you can't find it because they're in private collections, Polly. So we don't know. They're leaving us those that real or not. I don't know.
Could
But he
you
went-
imagine? Just like
Imagine-
someone's like, hey, come here, I gotta show you something in this secret room I got. And then you open the door and there's a naked dude with a freaking horse body.
And a three-headed dog.
I'd be like, check please.
Yeah.
I need to take photographs.
I'd be going, am I going to get out of here? or am I going to end up one of the bloody displays?
Right?
Okay. The legends regarding these animals are richly coloured and decidedly unfavoured. It is possible the centaur was hunted to extinction. Oh, here we go again. We got a lot to answer for.
Yeah, blame us.
Yeah. Their remains have been found cut into pieces. Oh my goodness, cut into pieces and then ceremonially buried, which suggests that they had acquired enemies with a fervour for extravagant punishment. Oh. Nevertheless, the centaur prospered long enough to allow for many descendants in its natural history. The Centurius Ipoton, humans with horse feet. Here's a word. Pterosaurus centaur, winged centaur. Iona centaur, half man and half bull or ass. And possibly many others. I acquired the research for my specimen in a small village in Bulgaria, east of Sofia, in the Balkans. The Balkan Islands. Hey, have you ever gone and researched that? That's something. Anyway, there I found a great deal of evidence to suggest that any further excavation and research will bear great and many anthropological fruits. I was unable to homestead in the beautiful countryside for as long as I would have desired. Perhaps one day the research of another scientist will bestow upon the world the secrets of the civilization and the power of the great centaur. Wow, that's pretty strong words. Stating all that. A lot of evidence, he's saying. Okay. Does that mean you'd have two stomachs? You'd have two stomachs, man. You'd have a human stomach and a horse stomach. Imagine what you could eat.
Yeah, you could probably just cook stuff right inside of you. You don't even have to cook it. Just throw it all in there in a different order, and it cooks itself down there.
Hang on. We got people commenting here, so I'm not paying attention because I'm finding this interesting. Because don't forget, sometimes I run out of time and I don't read everything. I wait till we share it, so you're hearing it as I'm hearing it. So I like everyone's comments. Okay. So being a taxidermist would suggest why he knows his anatomy. And he's so he's a taxidermist, a scientist, an artist, obviously, this fella. And hopefully he's not a bullshit artist, eh? All right.
You know what we should tell the artist, though, is that he has caps lock on for the whole time.
Yeah, I noticed. And some of his words were put together and he forgot to put a space between them.
Yeah, like all of the words that have been on the screen, they've all been capitalized. It's like he's yelling.
Yeah.
He doesn't know yet.
He might have been a bit deaf.
Oh, yeah, that maybe. Yeah.
And no offense against the hearing impaired. I have friends that are hearing impaired.
Okay, now see, here we go. Because if he was maybe a bit deaf, then maybe he's just misunderstood what a lot of people have told him about these crimes.
Okay. The Harpy was the culmination of Dr. Black's, we're on to a Harpy now, achievements. His greatest demonstration of the human form and its capacity for self-evolution. Hang on a minute. This is easy, the longest chapter of the Codex, with many illustrations of not only the muscular and skeletal system, but also the I'm going to skip that word.
Physiological.
Thank you. And even the reproductive system. Oh, Okay, so we're going to have a quick look here because we've got other things to show you, and how long have we been going? An hour or so. Okay, sounds about right. So we can wet our whistles and give our eyes a quick rest and do all the things we need to do and get back to it. Okay. Oh, I know what he's talking about. Oh, these are the... Oh, yeah, right. Oh, man, aren't these evil dudes? Oh,
I'm curious, what is the point of breasts on a bird other than to eat? But those ones look like they're meant for, like, you know, either feeding or just decorative.
And trust
You don't, like, birds don't breastfeed, clearly.
No, but they had a human.
No, you have to puke down a bird's throat to get it to eat. That's how they do it.
Yeah, I know, but trust you to notice only that.
Imagine if you had to breastfeed a bird, how painful that would be.
Okay, where are we? The harpy is the mother of all wonders. Yeah, I'm not sure about harpies. I haven't actually looked too much into them. But anyway, let's have a look. She was once beloved as a beautiful goddess. More recent portrayals depict her as a wretched beast. I suspect this confusion results from observers viewing different species of the harpy family and ignorantly thinking them to be the same. I'm accused of that, obviously. A likeness can readily be made with other similar species, the cherubim, the borads, and a host of others. The species that is studied here is one of the ancient ones, quite unlike its larger and more distasteful cousins. The smaller harpies do not possess the additional limbs characterized in the likeness of human arms. They are more foul than human, and foul as in bird-like, not foul as in it smells. They do maintain what is clearly a human head and neck, a protrusion in the maxilla forms a hard beak like ridged underneath the lips, both top and bottom. Only the deep teeth remain, molars and wisdom teeth. The incisors and canine groups are replaced with the beak. The surface of the face, capital and submolar tracts, is cloaked with a fine layering of the feathers. Interesting. Making it appear like an ordinary bird, then viewed from a distance. Like many other birds, the harpy has a sophisticated air circulatory system composed of sacs that assist in cooling and allowing uninterrupted flow of air through the lungs. The mechanism grants the animal the ability to breathe continuously, even during exhalation. The sacs also contribute to lowering body heat from the wing, extremities, and internal organs. Okay. The harpy's reproductive system is similar to that of a bird. She has one active ovary. Hang on. Is there only female harpies? This is what anyway. All right.
What are the male harpies called?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Where's the men?
They're probably just called dicks.
Okay.
And they're probably really mean, and they're probably that's why they went extinct.
Because they were naming see, you've got about our brothers, and poof, we were all gone. All right, the harpy's reproductive system is similar to that of a bird. She has one active ovary and lays eggs. The size of the eggs would have been quite large, perhaps 17 to 20 centimeters in diameter. I don't know what that is in inches. The time of gestation for the newborn would have been nearly 5 weeks. That's not long. The young would exit the shell with the help of an egg tooth. The small spike on the end of the forehead used for breaking the egg, which goes away in its early life. Possessing both the syrinx and the larynx, I hope I said that right, allowed the dual function of bird song and the ability to speak. Nevertheless, no evidence of a harpy language has yet to be found. Its vascular system bears no great riddles. There is the presence of a complex array of arterial and venomous structures that are not foreign to the practitioner of medicine and anatomy. Venomous, huh? Additional notes regarding the physiology lacking the gizzard, but instead having a human stomach and large pancreas, an intestinal tract shorter than a human's and still of greater length than that of a bird. Interesting. A bird's a four-chambered heart and particularly large kidneys would allow the harpy to have married the physiological differences of fowl and human in the bosom. I presume its diet would be carnivorous, but certainly capable of digesting nearly anything, even if necrotic. If that means dead, right? Necrotic.
Yeah. So what that says to me is that we could have actually farmed these things for a product similar to that of foie gras, because their livers would have been so big and so yummy that we could have just hunted them out of extinction just based on that.
Yeah, that's why they don't like us. Wow, look at the muscles. Wow, okay, so there seems to be a lot of evidence for those things. I think we're nearly at the end of this book.
I don't know if I'd call it evidence.
Yeah. Well, depends how much research you've done. See, if you go out and find other things and then find stuff like this, you can match it all together. Depends how much you know about stuff.
Yeah, things like that, you'd need skeletal evidence.
Because
to be most convincing.
As we all know, they have found really strange skeletal skeletons that have no place and they don't know what to do with them, and they're not going to tell everybody, but they're out there. So it's plausible, but what's real and what's
totally
real, two things, you know, because often they'll tell you something that's similar to the real thing, but it's bullshit, just so they can have you looking this way instead of that way. So you got to
there's even skeletons out there in mainstream that are unexplainable.
You got to discern for yourself, as I always say, and learn knowledge. You know, always grow your brain and your heart and your spirit.
What's fascinating to me is how these well-educated, scientific-based people use their imagination and creative resources to figure out how the physiological functions of these animals would have worked. To me, that's like, how do you even imagine that? I mean, it must be fun to be able to imagine something like that, like how these things work.
Maybe once he found something weird and strange when he was younger, he might have found something out of the box, right? And that led him to do all this. Who knows? He's not around. Oh, but then he might be. What happens if he's reborn and he's a scientist now and he's doing it all over again, and now he can actually make them himself? Isn't that a good thought? Okay, that's good. Oh, check it out. And you know, Polly, there's stories in native history of really giant birds like that pick up children and people, you know.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of similarities between like the egg and the way a human is born. I mean, it's not entirely the same, but if you just take away the shell, it's pretty much the same.
Them two bottom ones remind me of the phoenix. A phoenix bird.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. That one at the bottom there looks just like a phoenix.
Oh, check it out. Now that's a bloke. That looks like a bloke, doesn't it?
He's an old one.
Hey.
Looks like vulture wings, though.
Yeah, hey. Yeah. Hey, I know. You know, some people out there would like these as tattoos, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or wall art, or they'll draw. If you get inspired, be creative. Draw your own chimera.
No, that's a seriously this artwork. I've been meaning to say, if I haven't said it already, the artwork that in this whole presentation has been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it has.
And it's just like whoever drew this definitely has amazing talents.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. He was a scientist, a taxidermist, an artist, and he went out on field. He actually got up off his boat out of his office, went out there and found stuff. All right, so we're at the final note. Scholars seeking additional materials related to the life and work of Dr. Spencer Black will find the treasure trove of valuables resources at quirksbooks.com. Blah, 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 blah. This exclusive on. All right, yeah. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, check that out. What's going on here? Oh, that's a bigger book, right? All right, stop sharing for a second. Here we go. Hi, everyone. We're going to take a little break. I hope you really enjoyed that. What did you think before we go? Because we'll go and get a cuppa. Go, and sort ourselves out. I'll put the fire on for a couple of minutes because when I boil my jug, it's going to make a lot of noise. And then we'll get into the rest of the stuff. So, all right, that was interesting. Did you find that very interesting?
I did.
I keep thinking that it's similar to how we play around with plants and cross-pollinating plants. We make apples that taste like grape juice, and we make all kinds of weird hybrid plants. Maybe in 100 years or 1,000 years, we'll be making hybrid animals just like this. It doesn't seem that far-fetched to me.
And the snozberries taste like snozberries.
When I was looking, do all this I don't really research. How do I put it? I like weird, strange, wonderful things. So I'll sit here on my breaks and be bored and think, what can I look for? And I find these things. Some things I find they're not in English and all that, and it's like, oh, all right, and there's not a lot of pictures, but they're still interesting. I've got a couple of books like that, but I'll do them on another show because I can't fit them all on one show. I'm trying to do as much as I can. But yeah, I found that really interesting. Like, truly think if this is 100% rigid itch, this book, right? Is above board, everything's true and honest, right? Imagine a life like that. Imagine going and finding these things, recreating them, and then writing a book about them. That's a really interesting life.
Yep.
That's 100% true rigid itch, And I wonder what he thought about. Did he believe in creator? This fella that did this stuff. Like, it would have been an interesting fella to sit down and have a cuppa with. That's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. Well, on that note, I'm going to put up the fire, and we're going to go and get a drink and whatever we need to do before we come back and get into more stuff. So here we go, everyone. I'll leave you with the fire.
I'm gonna throw some popcorn on that fire.
Okay.
Pop.
And we'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back now. I just need a break. And for those of you that have just joined us, we just went through a book called The Resurrectionist, and I forget the guy's name already, crikey. Dr. Black, Spencer Black. We just went through the Resurrectionist book. He was a taxidermist, obviously an adventurous because he went out, a good artist. So if you missed that, that's what we did. Go back and watch it. And next we have the Ripley Scrolls. Now there's nothing to read here, so I'm just going to show you the picture and we'll just have a bit of a yarn about it. And then we're going to get into the good stuff, the alien book. Pardon me. That's from making a cup of tea too quick. I'll just pull up just pull them up. Hang on a second. While we wait for Jules, she's still getting herself sorted out.
I'm around.
All right, we're doing the Ripley Scrolls. Ripley Scrolls.
All right.
The Ripley Scrolls. Ripley Scrolls remind me of the Alien movie. I've got too much material on this show.
We should watch that. That was a classic.
Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Oh, the original's always the best.
You know what my favourites were Predator. I like Predator. And
I've never seen the Predator trilogy.
Oh, the Predator. You got to watch Predator, man. All right, Ripley Scrolls. Hang on, I'll pull them up. This is tricky. And be patient with me because the way to look at them, I can click on them individually and enlarge them, but to get it back to the next one takes a little bit of fiddling around. So in between, if I get a bit lost, that's why. So we're going to go for the first scroll. Here, I'll try and share the 3 scrolls so you can have a look. I'll read a bit about them. How did I click into that? Oh, yeah. I've got to click into it. So I'll just read it first and then click into it. I have to share my screen. That's what I'm going to do. See, I'm not the best technological person, but I try. Okay, there we go. The Ripley Scrolls. Here we are. Share, and we're on screen. We all want to see our guests for the moment. So here we are, the Ripley Scrolls. Ripley Scrolls is truly beautiful alchemy manuscript attributed to George Ripley, 1415 to 1490, canon regular to the priority at Bridling. This is tiny writing, so bear with me. Bridlington in Yorkshire, England. It is certainly one of the largest of all alchemic drawings, with some copies measuring over 5.5 metres in length and 50 centimetres across. At present, there are 23 known copies ranging from the early 16th to the 17th century. The latest discovered copy is kept at London Science Museum Library and was discovered in 2012 by librarian staff preparing an exhibition about alchemy. I just stopped there because, like, how big is this library that it was forgotten? And it wasn't until they wanted something to do with that topic that they actually found these beautiful things. Hey, it must be a big library. Anyway, the actual scroll is on display, part of the temporary exhibition at the museum. This was years ago, obviously. All right, we're just going to get into this because we've got more stuff to do. Okay, so these look hand painted and they're in Latin by the looks of it. Oh my goodness, alchemy. Yeah, what's he putting in there? Is that red mercury or is that something else? What could that be?
Well, mercury, isn't mercury like a silver color?
No, you can get red mercury as well.
It could just be a representation of blood.
Yeah, I thought that too.
It
Looks like blood. It could be a scientific fluid. Who knows?
It could be, I mean, if we're talking about alchemy, it could be a, there's probably something that's specifically what it is, but in alchemy, they do a lot of things where they reduce things down to like their purest form.
Oh, sorry.
it could be something like that.
Yeah, right. I don't know what it was all about.
And the tails, all those little red dots, like those tails all are coming, like they're pointing out of the same direction, which implies motion, that they're traveling downwards.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a frog there. Like the poor frog. Every time someone wants to do an experiment, they pick on a frog, right? Have you noticed that? And these are they feathers? They're feathers, aren't they? So
I don't know.
yeah, they look like feathers. Now, in my world, feather means is the symbol for spirituality. But a feather, that could be a bird and a.
Well, that's a huge part of alchemy, so it wouldn't be wrong.
I hope this isn't them making the chimeras. This could be them making chimeras for all we know. Because we don't speak Latin, so we don't know what they're talking about. I can't make it any bigger, sorry. I hope it's big enough. Actually, the only way I can make it bigger for everybody, no, that doesn't work. So you might as well stay in the picture. See, all right. So, oh, here I did it again. Look, here, that's them doing. So, how does the experiment go there? It's in a circle. Oh, they made a human. Oh my! In them little pictures, can you see that? They made a human. They use frogs and feathers to make humans. Oh, and they heated it all up, look. But they're all around it. See the lady there? They've gone into nature and got stuff. And then there's a person in there. And
Notice that there's 9 circles in total there.
oh, and then the two fellas in the middle. Were they giants and they made little people? Like, this could be anything because we don't speak Latin. Okay, let's move along. They cooked it all up. There's all that right, and they'd tell you about it. There's the herbs they went and collected, obviously.
Hey, wait, those aren't just any feathers. Those are golden feathers and silver feathers. And the golden ones are related to the sun, and the silver ones are related to the moon. This is classic alchemy.
Yeah, that makes sense because the silver water, gold water. Yeah, I see where it's coming from now. And the plants, because of I know they're plant.
And there's the tree of life right in the middle.
Yeah. Now, see the building there? When last week, when the show last week, and we mentioned star forts, right? And they look like castles, but you know, this is what they're in. So this is how long ago them buildings came from. And this shows that they were technological in their thinking because they're making things.
It's as above, so below. And if you scroll up to the last one with the 9 circles, it directly correlates with the 8 pillars around the outside, the tree of life in the middle. If you scroll back down, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. I see that.
There's the pillars, and then the feathers you're talking about are still there. And it's just an as above, so below. What's weird about this one is there's what seems to be like a upside down naked something with like webbed feet crawling down from the tree.
That's the frog.
But it looks like it has a human head and blonde hair.
It looks a tail, but it's got a lizard tail.
Yeah. Or that could be part of the tree.
Yeah, it could have been a vine or a lizard tail or a snake tail.
It looks humanoid almost.
Well, yeah. Well, if we go back to what you said, the previous picture, what's there? A frog.
Right. Yeah.
What have they done? Anyway, okay. I love the silver feather, gold feather. That makes so much sense. And the moon. Yeah, okay, let's move on. Oh, here's the bottom. Oh, look, there's the dragon. There's they're the equivalent of test tubes, vials and stuff what you use. Angel, we associate with angel. Someone glowing.
But you know what's interesting about this whole silver and gold thing too is
why
is it that silver and gold has always been important in humanity's history? Everybody loves silver and gold. It's based, like, economies are based around it. Like whole empires are based on silver and gold. And then
it's about the energy.
It's here in these ancient alchemical ideas. So did we get those ideas from these ancient alchemical ideas, or is this just us projecting what we have now onto those ideas from thousands of years ago? Because I don't believe alchemy is something that's like very new. It was probably handed down to us. It wasn't something that we figured out. It was something that was taught to us.
It was likely alchemy was probably one of those things that fallen angel technology.
All right. That's a weird picture, that one, because that red stuff's coming out of the dragon. Is it dragon's blood? Is that what they're doing, using dragon's blood? But up here, what's that? That's from the sky?
They could be even trying to make phoenix tears.
I was going to say something I forgot now. I don't know.
It's like that whole philosopher's stone. That's from alchemy. You can make a philosopher's stone if you know what you're doing in alchemy.
Actually, that one of the books that I found that had no English and not much picture, that's what it was about. It was about making the stone, and I'm like, I wish I could read it, just for the interest not to make a stone. Oh, that's why I remember what I was going to say. In our culture, gold and silver like that, we don't see them as a money commodity. They're precious healing things. The energy that comes off the golds and the silvers and all the other gemstones, they're healing things. They heal the earth, they heal people, they heal the trees and everything. Then they keep everything in harmony and balance. But we see them as a money commodity, and we take them out of the ground and move them and put them where they shouldn't be, and all that energy is lost. All that healing energy originally is lost because it's been taken out of the place where it animated that energy at its most capacity.
And gold is always associated with the sun, and silver is always associated with the moon, and there's always a masculine and feminine energy associated with either of them. And I don't know, it just seems like why would we just like make that up out of nowhere? It seems more likely to me that someone told us, and we're just like, oh yeah.
There's stories about it being taught to us by people that shouldn't have taught it. I understand when people say about teaching stuff, you got to remember that some minds will take what is meant to be a good, beautiful, healing thing and turn it into something not nice and destructive instead of beautiful and creative. So when it comes to knowledge, it's guarded because of that reason, because some minds aren't ready, shouldn't have it, and some minds aren't ready for it.
And I think that's probably one of the reasons why, trivia fact, Isaac Newton was an alchemist, but he kept it sort of on the DL, if you know what I mean. He was an alchemist.
Right. All right, what have we got here? This is a bit harder to see. And some of it's missing because you've got feet and something happening up there on the left-hand side and it's been scrubbed out. Don't you love it when something's scrubbed out? You know something really juicy was underneath. They rubbed it out. Oh, look, we got a unicorn, a stag. Is that an eagle? A person on some sort of leopard. And what's that thing in the bottom circle? Looks like a brain. I can't get closer to find out. Oh, hang on. I could, hang on. Oh. No, I still can't see it. What have I done? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. And, oh, look, this guy's a giant. He looks like a giant. There's something on a platter and a heart on the platter. She's trying to feed him and he doesn't like the food and she's brought him back someone's heart.
It looks like the Pope.
Oh, don't say that. He's got a pointy head.
I thought that was a hat.
Yeah, he might be covering an elongated head.
It does resemble a striking resemblance to the papal garb.
Here we go. There's that thing again. The frog. It's a simple little version of the exact same thing in the other one.
And 9 is the completion number. 9. So you have 8 circles around the outside, and then that one in the middle is 9. That completes everything. It's always about 9.
These circles in this is totally Jewish cabal in here with this alchemy.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, there's something in there. I don't know what it is, but I've been dabbling in the alchemy for a couple of years now. There's something in there. I don't know what it is, but there's something there.
Yeah, I'll talk to you after about that, and because I'm recognising stuff, but I can't talk about it at the moment. All I want to say is the poor frog. There he is again, the innocent bystander used as an experiment. And the reason I'm so onto it today because I got a pond out the back and I've had it sitting there waiting for frogs to move in. They finally have. And I went out and met one the other day, and I shouldn't have got. I got a bit actually. I went to pat him and he freaked out and ran away. And the thing that struck me about this frog, instead of jumping like really high like most frogs, he literally ran in to get back into the pond. It was really funny. I must have scared him terribly. I feel really bad about it. So today I'm seeing frogs and going, oh, that's sad. Oh my goodness, there's that thing again.
Yeah.
What are they trying to tell us? And why is it female? And so the frogs and the females are getting picked on here. Look, and there's the dragon and the frog together.
Well, it's kind of similar to the previous scroll. I'm
But-
seeing some resemblance.
And there's the Knights Templar symbol on each of the pillars.
Mm-hmm.
That's strange.
Are these done in different times, I'm wondering, or are they from different places but the same thing?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
One of them?
I think they all know the same knowledge, and
Okay.
if you know what to look for, you can read that knowledge. But I
Yeah.
don't think there's many people that can read it.
Now, I want you to note something because I don't want to tell you everything, but see how that building is full of water? We have remnants of structures that they will have you believe they were used for something else. But if you actually do a bit of research, you will realise that these structures were held for water. And I'm looking at this going, oh my goodness, we do have remnants of these structures, but they're telling you they're for something else. And I'm not going to try and brainwash you and tell you what I think there. I want you to go and have a look yourself, make up your own mind with this. Now you've seen this stuff. So
Well, there's that frog again too.
I know, poor frog. The frog and the lion, the dragon, the frog and the lion. Is there a story about a dragon, a frog and a lion?
Not that I know of. There's the lion, the witch, and the wardrobe.
Yeah.
But there you go again with the see, that's strange because they made the moon gold and the sun silver.
Oh, they don't look happy about it.
Well, there's a lot of people that say that they've actually purposely flipped the
Yes.
symbology of the moon and the sun.
Yes.
I don't know how I would think about that, but I mean that's just a side note, I guess.
Oh, look, we've got some answers coming from it. Listen, in chat room and that, and people watching, if you got answers to some of the questions that we asked, put them in the chat room, put them in the comments, so people can go and have a look at them, and we can share knowledge, if it's shareable, because everyone knows, even in our culture, there's some things we can't talk about.
Hey, Grub just put in a good point that the towers are sun positions, and I hadn't thought about that, which is kind of a neat idea.
Yeah, they either. See what I mean? Many minds make. Yeah, all these different angles of thinking. That's what you got to do. Bring them all in, and you'll see the whole picture because we all hold a piece of the puzzle.
Well, see, because the thing is with alchemy is you have to do your work at certain astrological alignments. So this would make perfect sense.
Right. I've done it again. My great computer skills. All right, what do we got here? All right, here's a harpy. Is she the harpy? It's like, looks a bit like a harpy, no?
It's a transgendered harpy.
Shh. Oh, the sun still doesn't look happy, even though now it's got gold face and silver sparks.
And the black,
Yeah, what's going on here?
I don't know what that is, but I would guess it would be onyx or something like that.
Yeah.
Something with energetic properties for sure, because you're not just going to throw any old black rock in there or mineral or anything.
Just looking at that and this, I kind of get the feeling like they did something, because like you said, oh look, they swapped it and they don't look happy. And I thought, did they do something magical, alchemical, and
Yeah.
change the energy?
And
this
why is the lion green?
look? Yeah, it's like they did something and changed the energy, and they shouldn't have. Oh, did they? Were supposed to? Who knows? Oh look, yeah. Wow, this is getting more bizarre. Pardon me. Alrighty then. What do we got here? Two horseshoes.
Oh, there's a crow.
Yeah. And a white crow, black crow, white crow. And the thing in the middle looks like a chicken gone wrong crossed with
No, I would say that's a dove, not a crow.
yeah, well, I think it was supposed to be a dove, but the thing in the middle looks like a chicken crossed with a reptile.
And that's what we all eat.
Chicken, yeah, I know. Oh, God. Oh. Yeah, by the way, try and feed your animal nice, good, natural food, appropriate to the animal's natural diet. Okay, so what have we got here? Suns and moons. Suns on one side, moons on the other. Blood of the dragon, mixing the sun and the moon together. Wow, okay. And we come up with this dude. Oh, look how many feet he's got.
Oh, hey, wait a minute. Scroll back up to that little... Okay, yeah, there. So at the bottom of those three... Well, 2 lions, 1 dragon, there's a flask, right? And there's what seems to be something coming from the middle dragon, whether it's part of his body or something coming out of his body into the flask, right? And if you look at on the left-hand side, there's 10 suns and 10 moon or silver suns on the right-hand side. But if you include the ones that are in the flask, there's 11 and 11, which makes 22. And both of those numbers, 11 and 22, are super huge, important numbers in all kinds of...
They're master numbers in numerology.
Yeah, and all kinds of occult. They all kind... I mean, 11, 9, 3, 6, even 7 and 4 are all prominent numbers in... that. I think they originated from alchemy. That the reason why they're important is because alchemy made them important. But the reason why they're important, I have no clue.
Well, I don't like the fact that the first thing they did was change the energy between the sun and the moon, and then they used it for an experiment.
That's what it looks like. And it's like it's in the cradle of the moon that they did this experiment. It's in the like that crescent moon shape at the bottom there.
Oh, sorry. Oh, what's this? Hang on. All right.
It's really cool artwork. I love alchemical artwork.
He looks like a gnome, this fellow. Looks only little. Hey, look what he's holding. Do we recognise that? Look at his crown and his sceptre and his orb.
Yeah, what is that?
Don't we? Hey, see these things he's holding? I don't know if this is to do anything to do with what he's holding, but in a lot of those old paintings and Renaissance paintings, they're all holding these little mirrors, but they're not flat. They've actually got a glass that comes oval like this, sticks out, like their communication devices. It just reminded me of what he was holding. I don't know if it's got anything to do with it or not. But look at his feet. Why has he got 2, 4... How many? 1, 2, 7 feet. Is he 7 foot tall? No. No.
Well, it's one of the only references to the number 7 that we've seen so far.
Yeah. All right. And these people don't look happy, do they? They must be doing something wrong.
And you know what's funny about those people is they have black feet, not gold or white.
Yeah.
So there's something. Like they put every single, there's nothing that's just random in any of this artwork. They choose colors for specific reasons. They probably even drew that artwork on a specific day when the stars were in a specific alignment.
Yeah, perhaps. All right, what have we got here? This looks like a more sophisticated version of the same two things we just looked at. All right, yeah, same thing, a bit closer up around the eye.
And the alchemists are in the middle trying to, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, this is more elaborate, this picture. Chains, look at it. What's that? Chains and wood?
I think, to me, those just represent maybe the connection between each luminary.
Like, I understand the components of what they're using. I kind of understand what they're doing. I don't, it goes against something in me. It's like, what the... Look,
All those people look like Aquarius.
Yeah, right.
It is Aquarius season.
Maybe that's the age of Aquarius, a certain astrological alignment depicted in art.
Well, when the moon aligns with Mercury in the second, I mean, they laid it out in the song.
And you know what was interesting in that one is there was one feather in that, if you scroll back up, there was one red feather.
Yeah, no, the others are oh, these are green.
Or
yeah,
it could be on fire, or I don't know.
There's only one red one and there's three up here.
Yeah.
You know, like that looks like Adam and Eve, right? And when I thought, oh, that's Adam and Eve, I know somewhere it says that when human bodies were created, there was more than one being creator in the room.
Well, that's awkward.
Anyway,
I noticed the theme with those is like all three of those scrolls. It seems like creation is part of them.
But it just looks like one big experiment to me.
Because it looks like creation or experiment, because you have the symbology of the tree of life, and then you have the serpent, and
yeah, it's
very complex.
They've taken things from nature. Like,
oh, that's a cool picture. Where if you check that picture out, where the sun is like, it's like all those little red dots are just flying out of the sun.
Yeah.
So like that could be a depiction of like a supernova or a CME or something like that. And then you got this chicken king standing on the earth.
You know, sometimes I think time travel, like if someone from the past popped in from today and heard things like that, like what you just said, they'd either think we're totally stupid or that we were totally disrespectful. But yeah, I think like that. Even the other day, you know how we walk around with things in our ears and we've got phone calls, but it looks like we're talking to ourselves. Someone from if you bring someone from earlier on back into today, they'd think everyone was gone mad because they all talk to themselves. They wouldn't know about the technology.
There's so many interpretations of art like this when you don't have the context from where it came from, the actual origins of the ideas behind the art, and what was in the person's head that drew that. I mean, I could come up with a million interpretations of what all these symbols mean because I don't know. So I can just imagine until I die.
And even with my knowledge of symbols on it from a native perspective, these are really bizarre because they're obviously European. But I do I do recognise the gist of what they're doing, and I know that they've made something from. They've taken nature, and they've made stuff. It's not like a natural occurrence, right?
And if you look at that guy that's right there, he's trying to looks like he's trying to uproot whatever that pillar is. He's trying to move it.
I thought that they realised that they'd effed up really big and he was hanging on to it and going, no, shit, I'm in the shit, I'm in the shit. Hey, how come one's glowing and one ain't? See that? The one on the left is glowing and the one on the right isn't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, see, this is what I mean. You could stare at this artwork and notice things. Hey, wait a minute. Why is that like that? They're even the slight colors of the bricks on the upper one that was just some of them are colored white and some of them are not colored white, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, like, there is.
And I don't know what that reason is, but I know that they don't make art like this without everything being encoded into it. It's like the most efficient way. This is the birth of memes almost. Like this is the most efficient way of communicating a million ideas without writing it all down. You have to read 3,000 pages. You just draw a picture that represents that one thing or all those millions of words.
Alrighty then, we'll go back to the entire thing here so you can kind of see the same story 3 times. Like, and when I do my art,
Incoming subspace signal.
there's an incoming signal. We're just about to move on to the alien book. Yeah, when I do my art, I'll do the same story through a couple of different ways. So I understand how they've done that here, the same story in different art manners. The one thing that strikes me most differently, though, is this big white dude with the pointy head, right? These dudes, they're not really in the other one. That's the biggest difference. And what's this business here?
Well, and he also has black feet.
Yeah. So that's the biggest difference about this one. The experiment is still the same. The story of the experiment is still the same kind of story.
Well,
more in detail one from the other, but this bit is different. Here we got
I think the one in the middle is probably more influenced by the church.
Okay, and the bit in the corners rubbed out, remember? So there was something there that they didn't want us to know.
Again, classic church move.
Yeah, right. All right then. I'm going to turn this off because we're about to check out the Book of Aliens. And if I was technologically advanced, I would have had that music there. Thank you, Jules. All right. Here we are. Where did it go? There it is there. And I'm going to go back and share my screen.
There's a lot to go over with just the aliens themselves. So I mean, should we devise a way if anybody's got something to comment on to raise their hand or ring the bell or do something?
Yeah. Just say, hang on a minute or something. All right. So we're at the last part of our show. It's a big show today. Like I said, that's why we had a break and told you to get comfortable. Now, the things that I see in this book, anyone in the audience has knowledge or wants to say something proper about it, I'll put the thing in, but we'll have a look first because wait till you see it, man. That's all I can say. All right. Yes, Jules, what we'll do if any of us want to stop and comment, just say, hey, just let we'll just stop and comment. Because some of them are just drawings, right? We've talked a lot tonight about drawings, Polly, and they could be or they couldn't be. If you have a look at the front page of that book, that painting there. I've done a thing on all the paintings. I went and had a look because I knew they were trying to tell us stuff. That particular painting, that's a war of aircraft ships in the old days. They didn't understand what they were looking at, I don't think.
Yeah.
If you look in there.
So that would be like the same battle that's described in the what's it called? The Bhagavad, I can't pronounce it.
The battle of Los Angeles.
Bhagavad Gita or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they describe like a war that happened in the heavens.
Yeah. That's a picture of it from the old days. And that black thing, I got a feeling that's the Black Knight.
Yeah.
The black satellite that hangs here. So this knowledge obviously isn't new. They tried to tell us about it. They painted these events in the sky and they accompanied other events. One of them is spirals and that in the sky. And if anyone watches the skies these days and tries to track what's happening overseas in their skies, people today have actually been seeing the same kind of stuff, what happened back then. we haven't got to the fighting ship part yet, but the spirals in the sky and the strange moons, suns and sunsets and all the other stuff, they painted it back then. And then I think shortly after this period, the paintings changed, and a lot of the paintings were trying to tell you stuff too, but they had to hide it. That was the time of the mirrors and that. And I heard someone say that they're always pointing. If you have a look in them pictures, there's always someone pointing like this, or they'll do this and point somewhere. And they said, look to where they're pointing, because there's symbology and stuff there. They're trying to tell you stuff. So I find these old paintings really interesting. And I found it interesting that they put this painting on the front of this book. So,
Yeah, that's an old painting.
yeah. So I'm going to try and enlarge this. Hang on. Without losing it too much. Oh, this is going to be hard because I can't get it centered. Hang on. Bear with me, people. There we go. How's that? That looks all right, eh? All right.
You can get away with a bit more.
Yeah. Is there, before we get to the pictures, is there anything you want to read out in this part of the book, Jules?
Not particularly. I can sum that part up, and that's the only part that I actually did read, because when you threw at me alien races, you knew you had me at check this out. So I was scrolling down and I was looking at the pictures, and the particular being, some seem never heard of, some of them seems like speculation, and then it's like, wait a minute, about this book, how did this become about? Those were questions I had. So I went back and I read the first couple of pages, and in the first couple of pages of the books, this particular book, the short story is that this is a book of Russian UFO information of the alien types. And back in 2004, there was a guy who took a vacation in Ukraine, and he met a local, and he was having drinks, and they struck up a friendship. And there was one of those instances where they went on a road trip, and they went to visit his brother. And to make the story short, they basically found a box of documents, 58 boxes full of old documents and books from the time when he was a diplomat. Some of the papers were in Russian. Some were even from the USSR times. And that's as far as I can tell you about this. So with further ado, the alien races.
Okay.
On your marks, get set, go.
Ha! I'm trying to make this as big as I can so we can read it. Because me and Jules are getting along in the tooth. And literally that happens, I got a tooth that's getting long in my mouth. That's why I have trouble sometimes. All right. So do you want to share this, Jules? Like what
I'm just skimming through this chapter, and he says people have asked me about some of the illustrations of certain alien races in this book. This is because some of them were literally copied off movies and or video games. Not at all. I mean, he's going in trying to state that he did his due diligence, but I mean, all I can say is take this as it is.
Yeah, same. I thought the same. Because of the pictures and that, I recognise some of them.
Take this as it is, because in some myth there is truth.
Yeah, you know how it is. You put a little truth with a little bit of BS and mix it up, and no one knows where they are. All right, then.
So, short story. This is a book of alien races, both an instruction manual and a source of information to be used now and in the future until the day it will be needed no more. Learn from it and add to it. When with humans, when with aliens.
Okay. And when we go through this, with my knowledge of native stuff and stories,
Oh, and one more disclaimer, and they made serious business with this because it's written in all caps. You are forbidden of showing this book to anyone, talking about the book to anyone, talking about or revealing your investigative activities to anyone, drinking alcohol on and off duty, consuming drugs and on off duty, helping alien races no matter the situation or request, choosing sides when physically amongst different alien races or during investigations, and of engaging sexual activities with any member of any alien race.
Okay, so basically no fun. See ya. I'll be right back.
That's funny. Okay. All right. Are we ready now?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just want to say the first guy there on the left, there's stories about frog-looking beings. He looks like a frog-looking being, right?
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Looks like a frog-looking being. Yeah, that's what it says. They come from constellation sculpture. They derive from an ancient race of reptilians that has gone extinct. They are specialists at building ships and other devices needed for the deep space traveling. They are also space travelers themselves, searching for new raw materials. They can live up to 230 years. Last seen near Tokyo, Japan in 2005. You know what I like? The fact that they put a date and stuff on it. It's like, okay. So I'm more inclined, because they kind of look like a real picture, but that little kid, that's a black-eyed kid, right?
Yeah. You can clearly see the black-eyed kid for sure.
Yeah. So they come from constellation Vela and the star Sun Hall AI Mahleaf. They grow up to 2 meters high. Is that 6 inches? And they live up to 2,000 years. Oh, they'd be the fairy people.
Ah.
6 inches, that's not very big.
No.
They're the little people, yeah. And there's so many stories about them. Be careful, I know from European stories, don't go out and the fairies, people get you, the little people. We even got stories. Oh, they can
Yeah,
shape.
but something that small, it says that they do abduct humans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'll take you away and take you back to fairyland. They shapeshift and are very hard to detect. When they shapeshift, the only thing they cannot change is the size and colour of their eyes. Ooh, how many times they put things up with black eyes? They're one of the oldest known races. They did abduct humans, last seen on Earth in July of 2008. All right. Is Polly back yet? Hang on. I can't see both screens at the same time. Oh, yeah, Polly's back. Just checking in case you want to add something to that. See, now these are drawings. Are they real? Like, this is the thing. Is that a picture or is that a staged?
I mean, that doesn't look like any of the Palladians that I've come across in my lookings into.
Okay.
I'm interested to think, like, okay, let's say there are all these other aliens out there and they're far more advanced than we are. And maybe we're not quite as special as we think we are, and we could be just maybe a byproduct of some kind of experiment from these people or aliens, whatever you want to call them. Do you think that they would really, like, if they wanted to let themselves be known, they wouldn't send us blurry photographs and freaking people's, doing automatic writing about the Pleiadians and stuff?
Yeah.
Why would they just show up? And if they wanted to disguise themselves, they wouldn't disguise themselves with a flaw. They would, well, if they were as far advanced as everybody says they are, they probably wouldn't even have to disguise themselves because they would send drones that were actually humans. They were genetically humans, but they're just drones from the Pleiades. Because they could make us. Maybe that's who made us, and they can just send drones here from where they are that are the exact same things as we are, and we would never be able to tell the difference. And those drones wouldn't even know that they were drones.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So, like right now, theoretically, and this is going out a bit far, I admit, but I could theoretically be transmitting data back to the Pleiades if I didn't know I was a Pleiadian drone. As we speak.
Undercover. Well, you wouldn't have to be a drone. You just have to come from there and just blend in, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, it's, I guess, a liberal term using the word drone there, but yeah, like a scout or a, you know, like what we send to the bottom of the ocean or to Mars so far.
Yeah. Intel. They send out intel, so you send someone out there to gather intelligence.
And what if life itself is that, and it just sent out a little comet of life to Earth, and boom, now it knows all about Earth because it sent life here to figure it out.
It's funny you're talking about that because you know our mob come from the Pleiadians, don't you?
Well, yeah, the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, right? That's a huge thing.
We connected. All right, you know, all right. If there's something we can't read all of them, all right, because there's so much. Do you agree, Jules?
I do. I mean, and there's more, and then there's more to this other than the races. This is actually something I'd like to curl up with this week and come back and go over
in more
detail next Friday, if that's permissible.
That I figured that
there's a lot, because not only about the races, it's going to talk about the Council of Five. And I'm sure
I know an intergalactic ambassador that would be willing to come on the show.
See, maybe we should wait.
Yeah, I even put in the description we're going to have a bit of a look at this because what are we coming up to?
No, I mean, because when I scrolled through, some of these did not. Some of them didn't really make any sense to me, and then I kept scrolling, and then I did come across like the Even and the Anunnaki, and then I stopped there because that's when I was intrigued with, okay, what is this? What is this book based off of?
I kind of want to scour the whole entire book for a blue chicken.
Ha ha! We might see them. Hang on. The Invisible. That reminds me of the Shadow people, the Invisibles.
Because they've got the Shining Ones in there, the Invisibles. I mean, there's a lot in there.
Yeah, and it records when they were seen last, where they're from. There's a lot of information. And some of them are just energetic. All right, if there's one in particular that you go stop and you want to read, just let me know, fellas, right?
See, like that one, the one on the left right there, I've seen that in publication.
The one on the left.
I have seen that image more than once.
Aren't they the insectoids? They're the ones that eat you, I think.
Well, there's stories of ant people that helped humanity survive the last cataclysm.
That's it. It reminds me of the ant person.
They took them all underground. Oh, that guy. Okay, sorry, but that guy on the right there, that's from a video game called Mass Effect. It's a Solarian, and so just based on that, the rest of these images are going to have to be suspect to me now because they just stole that one from a video game.
Yeah, and in the notes he said that there are, but I think in his mind that this is the closest that it would look like.
Yeah, I the same. I've recognised some of the pictures from other things. That's why I thought, oh, hang on a minute, let's sniff this out. Things from movies. There's the blue dudes, but they're not chickens. Look, he looks angry, doesn't he? Like, how do you tell? Some of them look really angry, like they're going to eat you, and they could be the good ones. Like, how do you tell? That's from a movie.
Oh, that one looks nice.
Yeah, I know. That's from a movie called. Oh, no, it's not a movie. It was a series. I'll think of the name in a minute. That looks like an old drawing from an old book. That what do they call them? Vimanas. That's a Vimana. Is that a Vimana? Yeah. Yeah, it's a ship. Yep. Okay. Oh, isn't he from a movie? This fella here. And that's from a skull they found, shaped like that, little tiny skull. And we all know what that is. Them fellas.
Oh, the Anunnaki.
Yeah, whatever way you pronounce it, and whoever they are. Oh, look, these dudes are sus on the suspect column. Oh, look, these are giants. So I'm going to cover giants, but I do cover giants most of the time because you know I love them. But that's what happened to the poor giants. And I figured if we were really hungry, that was the best way to feed everybody.
And you remember that story? I can't remember what the name of the story is, but there's a child's storybook where they like tie down a giant. And it's like a lot of
Gulliver's Travels.
Sorry,
or was it another one?
Was it Gulliver's Travels?
Or another one?
I don't know, but all I remember is a picture in the book, and it was all these people that had like tied down this. But he wasn't a giant; he was a normal-sized person. These people were all just mini people, and they managed to tie him down.
Yeah, I think that's Gulliver's Travels.
Might have been, but there are a few stories out there. Some of them look pretty, you know, how you going. Whoa, they live. They're from They Live, man. The zombie.
Yeah.
Oh, they're vampires. They look like vampires too. Oh, right. These are they're energetic reptilians.
Hey, King said he did the whole DNA in me. He got his report back. He is 22% Pleiadian, 36% bloodline of Christ, and German. And you can't be royalty if you don't have the bloodline. His crown's secure.
Good on you, King. Oh, look, this dude looks like he lives in water. That one looks like something you'd find in water. Imagine coming up against this. You'd get your insect spray out. Not that I recommend using insect spray, by the way, but if it's for, how big is it? You would say. Some of these things are really big. Oh, hang on. Isn't that a Egyptian painting on the back there? Yeah. That's from an Egyptian thing, I think. Yeah, it is. Oh, there's it. Elongated head, people. Look. We covered them last week.
Yes, we did.
Oh, so there's some dudes going around, they look like a pencil drawing. I'm joking.
Like those kindergarten pencil grinders, yeah, with the two wheels. It's so true.
And there's another being with an elongated head.
It's amazing to think that they had pencils in other galaxies.
Man, imagine meeting that dude in a scary and down a dark alley one night.
I'd ask him if he needed help.
There's another elongated head. Got slit eyes. I haven't seen them yellow like that, but I've seen the slit part. Oh,
yeah, when I scroll down the Council of Five, I'm going to want to read that because looking at those pictures that are there, it's telling the story.
Yep.
It's telling the story, and
All right.
it looks like it's going to be a good story.
So you want to read this bit here?
Because it's talking about Mars and the moon. It starts out, I'll leave you with this teaser. Mars and the moon have been overmined and explored for the past 33,000 years. The races that do it are going deeper and deeper inside the planet to reach the raw materials they want. So yeah, there's a whole story with that. So I'd like to curl up with this.
Yeah.
I have to say that the one on the right, the left of the screen there is a blurry Admiral Akbar.
And on the one on the right is the angry looking one, eh? How come they got
that one could be from the movie Fire in the Sky, but maybe not.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. That. Oh, right. That looks like...
Oh, is that the moon base?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the story about Council of Five.
Mm.
But I've often wondered if there are these super advanced alien races out there, and we're not quite there. We're just, to them, we're like how we would view chickens or pigs or cattle, except maybe they're not eating us, clearly. But they don't look at us like we would look at other forms of life. They would look at us those things on that planet, they're a result of our experiments. We could do whatever the hell we want to them, and it's no moral or ethical argument for anybody in those 5 races of aliens, because it's just an experiment. They could just, if they wanted to, just like we're doing all the chickens, they could just cull them all. Because there was, here's bird flu, but it's like a different virus that goes through humans. We just cull them all and start over again.
Oh, sorry for the pause, but I'll jump in. So I am going to take my leave. It's been a fun week, and thanks for having me on. It was good catching up with you guys. And I'm going to go back to the celebrations.
Oh, yeah, because, look, I really appreciate you coming today, Jules. I know you got other things happening in that. And me and Polly will finish the book up. I think we're nearly at the end anyway. And thank you very much for taking time to share that with us. And, enjoy the rest of your celebrations.
You got it.
Thank you.
Everybody in chat, Luna, Polly, love you guys. Have a wonderful evening and a beautiful day.
Big hugs, Jules.
Yellow, Jules. I'll catch up with you later.
Yellow.
So here, Polly, here's some more of them paintings talking about the wars in the sky. And there's some more modern stuff with things in the sky, which we've all kind of seen at one point in our lives. And yeah, so there's a lot of reading in this book too. If you want to read it, seek it out, have a read. Some of these coins, they're discussing whether they were actually made by someone or whether they were real. But they look quite worn. Look how old that one is, 193 BC.
Yeah.
So,
And look at the detail in it.
Yeah.
And it's that old and weathered, and it still has that much detail.
Yeah. And that particular shape, if you have a look at some old buildings, you'll see that shape being repeated over and over again.
That's fascinating. I wonder what that means.
And on the left, look, we got some language signs, communication symbols. Oh. More mobs, something around them, alien files. The alien files.
Clearly, that's not a photograph.
Oh, look at this dude, whoever the camera guy was. That's what they reckon they look like shapeshifting. I think they're, yeah, I don't know. I know these things happen, and I know that not all people are people.
I feel like if I was a shapeshifter, I would never get caught.
Well, you'd
Like,
have
no one would ever photograph me shapeshifting, or it would never happen.
You'd have a large advantage. Hey, look here on the top here. There's another one of them old paintings. I've actually seen a different drawing of that coloured in, where they show you the object in the sky on fire. It must have got hit. So if these things happened here in the old days, where's the remnants of the ships that got blown out of sky from the fight that they had?
Well, if the Earth disaster cycle is correct, it would be hard to find anything over 3,000 years old, ever. It would just be gone. It would be completely wiped off the face of the planet, which is
Yeah.
why things like, ancient sites of, like Gobekli Tepe have been intentionally buried. It's like they knew the only way to preserve this past the 3,000 year mark is to bury it. So I don't know. Some of the stuff is, I would just say, highly suspect.
That's an underwater picture, that one.
Yeah, and there's all these kinds of, there's all things that we find that are just like, they just stick out. Like they don't belong there.
Yeah, they're odd things. One of these things, and it's not like the other one.
Exactly. Hey, do you guys have Australian Sesame Street?
Yeah, it was your Sesame Street I used to watch it when I was young. Yeah, it was your Sesame Street just given straight to us. It wasn't changed in any.
Oh, okay. That's a shame, because I'd imagine you could probably have some fun. Instead of Big Bird, you could have Big Roo.
Big Emu. Or Big Emu.
Like,
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you just gave someone an idea there. I don't know. I'd say they're pretty well. Oh, look, this guy's got implants. That's their thing and they don't want to share it. Otherwise, someone would have done it before. Oh, here's the others all in different drawings from all over the world. That's what I mean. We've seen them, and then they tell us that they're still here. And then craft, which some of the craft is ours. We've got to remember that. It doesn't all belong to them. And there's that dude again. I don't know how much of this we've got left. We know that that's that site that got blown.
Is that Tunguska? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Tunguska could be similar to what these, the paintings of that big battle in the sky.
I've seen that long thing there, the first picture. I've seen one of them in daylight.
Yeah, I don't know what those are.
They're the long ships, I call them. They're called all different things, cigar-shaped ships. I just call them long ships. Yeah, I was out in the rainforest, staying out in the middle of the rainforest, and something just said go outside, and I went outside, and there it was. It was like, and there's never anyone around when you have all the things.
Yeah, they do that.
There's hardly once. My husband's been with me a few times, right? We've seen stuff, but a lot of the time, other than that, there's never really many people around to say, "Hey, can you see what I see?" And just verify that. It's always good to have a check person, I think.
And they always show up just far enough away that your phone camera will just not do it any justice.
Oh, them all brown things, I see them all the time. Even now, at any given moment, I can go out the back, take photos, zoom in, and they'll be sitting there up above my house. I've seen them follow ships. I've seen them follow aeroplanes in the sky. I saw 3 of them turn and spinning around like this, following this aeroplane. And then I'm looking for someone to grab to say, hey, can you see that too? Because it wasn't very high. The aeroplane was quite low. And while I was looking around, and then I thought, no one's around, grabbed my phone. By the time I grabbed my phone, they'd actually moved away from the aeroplane and moved up to under the cloud. So when I took the photo and zoomed in, you could see them sitting underneath the cloud. But it would have been better to take a photo of them spinning around at the back of the aeroplane. Yeah, I think they're, I don't think, they're like remote controlled. I think them little round silver things.
I wonder if they even care about being seen.
Not anymore, I don't think. We're about to enter a different world. Look at these tiny little people. They desecrated
yeah.
the little body, the poor thing. They're the
Oh,
little
I've
tiny
seen
people.
that. There's a whole documentary. I think National Geographic did one on that, one of those skeletons.
Poor little fellas. Anyway.
I wonder if those are the same little people that tied down that giant.
Nah, they could have been. They look like they would have had rope. Hey, that's old, eh? You got sheep grazing.
Oh, wow.
In Australia, we got old photos. That's how it used to be. There was a dirt road, and the fence usually was just a pole where you tied the horse or the cattle up, and there was just dogs and cattle all over the place walking on the road. So it's funny to see it happen over there. All right, what do we got here? More craft. See, that's when I see them like that, I feel like they're ours. So they're human-made ones.
Yeah, they look like the Nazi ones.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not allowed to say that on YouTube. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I didn't hear what you said. No, did anyone
Oh,
else?
I don't even know how to spell it. I don't even know how to spell it. What do you?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to read.
That's what I saw, Polly. Oh, there's
Yeah.
a flagship. Of course, it would be natural for me to see one of them, right?
We used to
Yeah.
call those Zeppelins.
Oh, actually, that's another thing they reckon. You know, before the big Zeppelin fire, people really got it. They got around, and they didn't want you to know that that was like the main source of getting around, and it was cheap and easy because they wanted you to use petrol and get.
It was also a good way to relay radio signals.
Wow, they've always been around. Look, they must think we're. I don't know what they think. Sometimes they must put their head down and shake it like that because.
You know what though? It's a fairly safe mode of transportation because I don't think in the history of like blimps or zeppelins that there's ever been a mid-air collision.
Look how old that photo. Remember, look at the car, Polly, number 5. Look, see in the background there? At the top.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And also there's a dude walking on the racetrack. What an idiot.
Oh, back in them days, it was free.
No wonder we didn't live past 40.
Oh, that's the same picture. All right. Oh, look, this one's different.
Oh, that's a cool. It almost looks like a little mushroom in the cloud there.
Right.
And have you heard the story about apparently Eisenhower had like a meeting with aliens?
Yeah, I have.
It'd be neat to see if there was a recording of that meeting.
Basically, we got sold out.
Yeah, well, if the aliens are like, well, you're going to basically give us what we want, or we could exterminate your whole species. It's up to you.
Hey, see the one at the bottom there, right? See how it's got tentacles?
Yeah.
Often, this is going to sound weird, but a lot of the times when I've been in a car and I drive over the river here, and it's just here and there, and it's usually as the sun's going down sometimes, but I have seen it at different times. It looks like these big black tentacles are in the water, sucking up the water. And then I look up thinking, is there a ship up there with big long black tentacles sucking up the water? And here it is a picture of a ship with big long black tentacles. I'm wondering if that is what I'm seeing.
Could be. I mean, I think water's
Who knows?
fairly valuable.
I've seen some weird shit. I don't really worry about it as long as everybody's safe. And I've never felt threatened by anything I've seen.
Well, you could always tell people to leave what they think in the comments below when they watch this later. You ever seen anything sucking up water out of a lake? Put it in the comments.
I think we're at the end of the book. Again, there's a lot of reading there. That's a pretty picture. Oh, no, there's more. Oh, the long people. We had long-headed peoples. Look.
Yeah, that looks like why is he coated in gold? You know, like looks like maybe that's where the Egyptians got the idea from.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And put gold on them. Interesting. There's a lot to read on there. Oops. Okay.
But I mean, even if you think about like the importance of gold in Egypt, it goes back to that all those alchemical drawings, right? Like,
that's what I said. That's the properties and the energy makes it really, really special.
So there has to be something about gold that they're not telling us,
it's a conductor,
or that we don't know.
We know it's a conductor, but there's more to it than that, right?
Yeah, there has to be something more.
Yeah, there is more to it.
I bet you it's more spiritual as well.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Look at the thinker. Hey? All right. Oh, there's a UFO there. Oh, no, that's a lizard eye. Check it out. I didn't see that. See it there?
Oh, yeah. Looks like a croc.
Yeah. What's it doing behind that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that could be a croc of something.
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. Right? Crocodile tears?
Okay.
That's a strange image to put behind the cross, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
That's I don't know what to make of that.
Neither do I. There you go. Well, there you go, people. That's all I got for you this week.
Well, as usual, it was friggin' fascinating.
Yeah, it's a brainful, eh? Yeah, I get excited when I find stuff like this because I actually got you to share it with. Yeah, I didn't notice that before. That's a statement, that picture, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, someone wants to come
that's your kitty. That's your kitty.
Hello.
Hey.
Come and say hi. No. Okay.
So
she's gonna come and say hi at the last minute, like right when we sign off.
Yeah.
She'll jump. Oh wait, here she is.
Here she is.
Hey, come and say hello.
Right at the end. Hello, beautiful. Oh, she's beautiful. Look at her.
Yeah. Oh, she loves me so much. Look.
Yeah.
Hey, you're gonna be famous.
All right then, people. I think we'll call it a day, call it a night, and I hope you really enjoyed all that information. It was a long show, and it was a lot of head and full of stuff. But we're worth it, and we'll see you next week. Yeah, hang in there, Polly. I'll talk to you when we leave, and everyone, love to you on this day. Stay centered. Remember, Creator loves you. You are loved. And have a good week, full of laughter and joy and happiness. And I'll see what I can come up with next week. So we'll see you next week. Yalu. And thanks, Polly, for joining me. And thanks, Jules, for coming. And we'll see what happens then. So, Yalu, we'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.